TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no rain with a heavy metal. No time, no fail, won't stop here. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop. Come on, baby,
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it's that time of the week. You got it. NCAA Insiders, the one and only Mr. Matt Grissom that just sneaks in under the wire. We caught you, Matt. And, of course, Mr. Nick Hathcoat. Quentin Mills on assignment. Nick stepped up to the plate last week, did an amazing job. Back again this week here for the 3 Men in the Box. And at the half hour, Adam Trigger back for some NCAA hoops as they tipped off on Monday. Big card on Saturday, as well as college football there. So first and foremost, a shout out to our proud sponsors and partnership. It's Viva Tequila Seltzer. CT Bets, the team, the family, second to none. The East Coast is cuckoo for coconut. Go try one where you purchase your adult beverages. WagerWire, head on over to Google Play, download the app. It's free. I promise you, Travis, Zach, myself, Amber, Holly, Jay Berry, the team, the family, we're going to take you to some places you've never been. So jump on board, download the app now, and get ready to cash some tickets. And last but not least, of course, Terry Smith, Atlanta Steaks and Seafood. Head on over to Facebook, introduce yourself, follow Terry Smith, and while you're there, then head over to atlantasteaksandseafood.com. Place an order. Anything over $150 this week, you will get, use the promo code ECSI, get a free 2-pound bag, of shrimp, the jumbos, shrimp scampi, little surf and turf, on Terry and ECSI. So go there, order today. You'll be grilling by Sunday or Monday Night Football. So without further ado, let's bring them both in, Mr. Matt Grissom and Nick Hathcoat. What's up, gents?
Hello. What's up, Jeff?
Matt, you got in right under the wire. I was chuckling because Elijah set up 2 men in the box, and Nick was about to come on solo. But, I know, with record deals, TV deals, and all the other deals, it's tough to get here on time.
Well, the emails get lost in the shuffle. I kept clicking through all the subject lines, and I could not find the show link. User error.
What?
Because it was there.
Guys, it's elimination week. 2 huge games on the docket in the SEC. Before we jump into those, Nick, what'd your eyes see last week? Any shockers? Any teams that didn't show up? Anything surprise you?
Yeah, I think you can kind of look at the smaller 2 of the Power 4 conferences that kind of imploded on themselves. SEC and Big Ten kind of held serve. But Big 12, you talked about there was a chance they were getting 2 in before. Excuse me. Now I think there's no chance. You have that Iowa State loss, Kansas State loss. They're hoping BYU runs the table. If not, kind of chaos can happen. And looking at the ACC, you kind of Clemson hanging there, hoping they'd be the team to possibly knock off Miami in the ACC championship game. Then probably Miami and Clemson both get in. Now I get SMU still possibly can do that. But yeah, I think those two conferences kind of hurt themselves in just one of those crazy weeks where we said it. This is one of those things where there's not a ton of huge games, but this is just when college football happens, and it did.
It's funny, Nick, because you bring up a team that I was real quiet on because I'm talking about Clemson because did not play a good for opening game against Georgia, and it was the old Dabo, no quarterback, no Trevor Lawrence, no Deshaun Watson, and then they started putting things together, and then everyone's hush hush, and then they really start to look good. So now I talked to some experts last week before the game. They actually on a neutral field had Clemson minus 1.5. Some had 2 against Miami. Was it more Louisville or did Clemson just lay an egg, Nick?
I think it's a mix of both. I mean, we said, I kind of said on the show too, let's see what Clemson looks like against the first team that's over 500 that they played since Georgia. And they kind of reverted back to what they looked like against Georgia. The defense this isn't the normal Clemson defense where you kind of have NFL guys running around all over the field. So they struggled a bit. I didn't think their offense would be as bad as they were. I mean, everybody's been scoring against Louisville. So that was the surprising part. As I mentioned on the show, that was one of my losses for the week. I had the Clemson team total because I thought it was going to be a close game. They obviously didn't get there. So yeah, sounds like you're with me. So that was I'm not surprised they lost or that it was close, but I'm surprised in the fashion that they lost.
Matt, Nick brought up the Big 12 and the Iowa State loss, and you're right, BYU. It's like BYU and Indiana. I don't know what the polls really. I think they're just leaving Indiana out to dry because they're going to face Ohio State. Hopefully, they're undefeated. No one knows what to do with this Indiana team. But Nick brought up the Big 12. It's now like we cursed Clemson last week. I'm going to curse Coach Prime and the Buffaloes here. It's time to talk some Buffaloes here, Matt.
Yeah, Colorado's looked impressive. They've got a really good ATS record too, but they're going in to take on a Texas Tech team that I think they need a big win. So I really like the Red Raiders here this weekend, but I think the Big 12 may cannibalize themselves. I don't love BYU. I don't really think, if they go 11-1, should they make the playoff? Maybe 12-1 if they win the conference tournament. I think they're going to lose this weekend. I just hope Utah does us all a big favor and beats BYU this weekend. That would just kind of make things easier. But I think Indiana is legit. You kind of compared BYU and Indiana, it sounded like. I think Indiana is a pretty damn good team, and I think we're going to see that against Ohio State.
No, and because of the polls and the Power 5 currently right now, BYU, could be a Boise State there. But the way it was positioned in their first official show on Tuesday, who's in, who's out in the brackets, BYU would, I think, move into that Power 5 spot. And Indiana, I've asked a few people this week, I think that they are getting disrespected. I think they are legit, but I think that what they're doing here in these polls is like, hey guys, you control your own destiny. You beat Ohio State. You're obviously in the Final Four, correct, Nick?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If you beat Ohio State, they're in, because that also probably puts them in the Big Ten championship game against Oregon. So even if you get beat by Oregon, that's not going to hurt your resume enough to, you're not going to be a top 4, but then you're probably somewhere between that 5 and 8 range. So yeah, it does kind of come down, and it is one of those things. Like, let's see Indiana play somebody. I've been on them. I don't know. It took like 5 weeks straight where they just kept making me money. The line this week kind of tells you something. 14.5, and then last week I think Oregon and Michigan were 17.5. So the odds makers are kind of saying this is a 3-point kind of power rating difference between Oregon and Indiana. So that kind of tells you that these two teams are very close. And IU's being disrespected, I think.
All right, Matt. I saved it for 10 minutes and 28 seconds. The funny thing is this. Mississippi has been my kryptonite.
Oh,
and Jackson Dart just threw another touchdown. So my point is, they've been my kryptonite. We cashed a couple tickets on their team totals, and then they start slow. They play grab ass, and here they are have the biggest game of the year this week. And last weekend it was a look ahead game against your Arkansas Razorbacks. What the bleep happened, man?
I don't know. Jackson Dart and Lane Kiffin, they realized that they could exploit the deep ball, and they let Jackson Dart play. I mean, he looked like me playing college football 25 back there. Just run 4 verts, lob pass, touchdown every single time. He was playing on freshman mode, but I don't know. That was embarrassing. I think it regardless what happens the rest of the season, I think Hunter Yurachek has got to look long and hard about this. Do we keep Sam Pittman? We already saw Florida came out and said we're bringing back Billy Napier. I think if Arkansas does not go after a new head coach this year, they're going to be competing with Florida and God knows who else. I mean, it's not sustainable with Sam Pittman. We saw the highs and the lows. The lows are really low. The highs are beating Tennessee 19-14. Just a sad state for a football program right now.
Well, I always say this. I get you can't fire the whole team, so the first person on the chopping block is the coach. Who are you going to go get?
You got to get somebody else. I think in Sam Pittman's losses, every single press conference, he says when he loses, his go-to line is, "We got out-coached." If you're getting out-coached more than 50% of the time you play games, you're probably not a very good coach. So you can get anybody else at this point. Somebody with an above 500 win record. That would be preferred. But, I'm not realistic in thinking that we can go get Kurt Signetti or somebody like that. But, I mean, who knows? We just hired John Calipari for basketball. So I guess really all bets are off. Does Nick Saban want to come back? Because Walmart and Tyson aren't running out of money. But in all seriousness, Pittman, I've never seen a coach just so lost at why they lose games. And that is concerning to me because you can't convey to your team the things you need to fix in order to not replicate that result. And the same goes for wins. We just had our greatest offensive performance against Mississippi State that we've had all season. We come back home and we follow it up with just dumb plays. We had no cadence on offense. We did not look good on offense right out the gate. And I don't know why we struggle in our own stadium to get things going on offense. We saw it against LSU. I tweeted it out immediately. I said, this is eerily similar to the LSU game. It's like 1 step forward, 3 steps back on offense. And that's not going to win you games, especially against Lane Kiffin, who has no problem running the score up. And I'm glad he did. I mean, that you exploited a problem, and Arkansas continued to not be able to fix it, even when a backup quarterback was in there for Jackson Dart. That's inexcusable.
Well,
I feel like I've
almost
been
like Joe
ranting
Burrow.
15 minutes. Somebody else come in. You got me fired up now. I didn't know we were talking about this. It's a bye week for us. Thank God. I don't have to watch the lose.
Hey, listen, when the going's good, you beat Tennessee, duck boats, parades, you got to take the good with the bad here, man.
I give this university way more money every single year than I want to disclose. It is 5 digits, and I hate it. I hate this. I hate that I'm a Razorback fan. It's sad. It's sad. But what are you gonna do? Wake up.
You got Coach Cal, by the way, and just an FYI. I'm 0-1 this year on Arkansas team totals. Nice game there. Opening day with Coach Cal.
Hey, they're 1-0 against the spread, but we talked about it, Nick and I. I said they could get off to a slow start. they're still trying to figure each other out. Plus, we shot abysmally from 3-point line. So happy we got the win.
Yeah,
even happier we got the cover. But yeah, they got a lot to fix, especially with Baylor coming up.
Nick, before we dig into this, a couple of the games here, colleague Joe Klatt came on this week and he said something, and I thought of you immediately. Due to how the teams are progressing, and how teams are beating each other up, and how these conferences are shaking up, the fact that Army and USC, granted Army's undefeated, we get all that, but you saw what you did to Navy, and I'm talking, of course, about Notre Dame, and now USC and Lincoln Riley's team not being that, he's starting to get a little worried that even a one-loss Notre Dame team might be outside looking in. Are you nervous at all?
No, I don't see it. I think all the metrics are still on Notre Dame's side. Like I said last week on our show, after that Northern Illinois loss, they're leading the country in winning margin over anybody. You see what Riley Leonard's been doing through the air was kind of what they were missing in those first few games. That's been improved upon. Defense, I know, kind of needs to get healthy, but they're kind of just steamrolling people now. I do think, and I do hope, that I hope Army keeps winning, because that definitely looks better on Notre Dame's resume if Army's undefeated. And I'm kind of, not going to lie, I'm a little bit worried about Army this week facing North Texas, because we don't know if Daly's going to play or not. But yeah, I'm not too worried, and especially like where they're ranked. I don't see Notre Dame dropping, especially with there's so many teams in front of them that are going to cannibalize each other. Like we said, if Ohio State ends up with 2 losses, they'll end up behind Notre Dame. If Indiana loses to Ohio State, they'll end up behind Notre Dame. We mentioned BYU already. So I think there's more of a factor of there's teams in front that will lose, and I don't see Tennessee really. I guess the teams behind them that could even jump them. You could still look at A&M possibly if A&M beats Texas, but then you look at, okay, well, Notre Dame still has the head-to-head and beat A&M in College Station by double digits. So I don't see it happening. I get where Joel's coming from. Obviously, extremely smart guy. But yeah, I just don't think there's enough room for them to really drop Notre Dame too much as long as they keep winning.
Matt, I'm going to have you break down one of the 2 SEC potential elimination games, since you have so much love for Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss Rebels here. 3-point dogs, 2.5-point dogs at home against Georgia. What do your eyes see there?
Well, I know that earlier in the week you had me email you the plays that I liked, and I have flip-flopped. I'm worse than a politician. What a week to do it. Here's the thing. I said a couple of weeks ago, from here on out, we have to bet on the teams that we trust. Who do we trust in a big game? Kirby Smart's already proved it against Texas. We know Lane. I know it was at LSU at night. It's hard to win. But come on, Georgia's winning this game. I don't know if Ole Miss covers. I think I sent it to you at 3.5. I think the Bulldogs probably win this by 2 touchdowns. Just given the track record of Lane Kiffin, given the preparation for Georgia and Kirby Smart knowing that you've got to win this game, you can't lose this game right now. So give me the better coach. It pains me to say the better quarterback. I don't think Carson Beck is better than Jackson Dart, but by virtue of being coached by Kirby Smart, I've got to give it to Georgia. Those are typically my top 2. Head coach, quarterback, defense. I know the defense for Ole Miss, defensive line especially, probably better than Georgia. But again, we just saw this same type of game against Texas, and Georgia blew them out. I think it's going to be much of the same.
Nick, I'll give you a little rebuttal on that one before we go to the second game.
So this is a weird one because actually this is one where all the metrics point to Ole Miss. They're leading the country in havoc rate. They have 100 tackles for loss this year already, and the second closest team in the nation is at 77. They're leading the country in sacks. Carson Beck has made an astounding 10.8% turnover-worthy plays when he's under pressure, which is like, that's kind of hard to fathom. He's going to be under pressure here. But it is kind of like Matt said, it's Lane Kiffin. It's, can you trust, like Georgia has won 52 straight against a team not named Alabama. So it's like, even though every single thing points here, metric-wise, to Ole Miss, I'm probably staying away from it from that standpoint because my numbers say Ole Miss. My head, though, says Georgia. So I probably won't play it. I kind of like the under here. I think this is going to be like an under game. I don't think either coach is going to want to put their team in a situation where they're turning the ball over. They're going to try to protect Carson Beck. I don't think they want him losing the game by throwing 3 more picks. So I might play it first half. I got burned last week by that Penn State, Ohio State first half. That was, oh my gosh. That was.
And then a dead under the rest of the way.
That, oh my God. Okay. So, but this one's at 27.5. So I don't know. I don't see 4 touchdowns here in this first half, personally. And then even full game under is worth a look as well. I think that's more of a play rather than a side.
Game 2, both teams coming off a bye. You know how hard it is to win in Baton Rouge. Never mind a night game. Give these guys a couple extra hours to get lathered up. Brian Kelly, I was going to say Coach Saban, but Coach DeBoer here. Loser has 3 losses. I guess I will look at it outside looking in. Whoever's quarterback has the better game here, I think will prevail. LSU trending upwards, and then great first half at A&M. Quarterback kind of not good in the second half. And, of course, A&M scores 4 straight touchdowns. Thanks for playing. We've seen flashes of Jalen Milroe, the good, the bad, the ugly. What do your eyes see in LSU with Alabama right now about a field goal favorite against LSU?
I'm opposite here. So I'm not, this is an over one for me. You kind of just touched base on it. LSU struggled 2 weeks ago against A&M, stopping a running quarterback. I think part of that was just they got taken by surprise. Like Marcel Reed coming into the game, they were not prepared, clearly. No reason they shouldn't have been. They just weren't. I think their defense is a little bit better than that. But this is also, when you look at it, Kalen DeBoer loves running his quarterbacks in these big games. And you look at, they're coming off a bye, like you mentioned. Alabama also has like nobody left on their schedule. So if they have to run Milroe 20 times, they're going to do it. I think we see points. Nussmeier's been good. Definitely better than what I thought he was going to be coming into the season. And that's kind of the biggest flaw is Alabama's secondary. So I can see them end up throwing the ball 50 times because their kind of run game, I don't know if they can really run against this Alabama defensive line. So I think there's going to be points in this game. So I'm going to be on the over here. And once again, not playing a side. It is Baton Rouge at night. Like that +3 is kind of enticing at that number, but I think I'm probably staying off a side in this one as well. I know it's no fun. Both big games, I say I'm not picking a side, but hey, I don't care how you make money as long as you make money, right? So this is an over one for me.
Matt, little rebuttal before we start to get to you guys' picks.
I did bet LSU plus the 3.5, whatever you want to get it at. I'm pro hook. I've been burned by it, and I feel like every time I don't take the hook, that's when I get burnt. I just placed the bet on the over. I like Nick's spill there. I do think we've seen in SEC big-time games a lot of points being scored. We know that LSU, they've given up a lot of points to Ole Miss, USC, other teams. Alabama, we know, we saw a couple weeks back. The Georgia come back in the second half where they gave up 1 billion points in that one. But, yeah, I like the over in it. And then what was your other question? Did you say something else about another game?
No, I was asking for your rebuttal on that game.
I think Nick will end up placing a bet on LSU. It's Baton Rouge at night. No Nick Saban. Let's go, Nick.
I'm close.
Elijah, we're going to start here with Nick's leans and picks. So give us a quick commercial break before we get Nick Hathcoat's picks for the weekend.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no way, with a heavy metal. No time, no fail, won't stop here. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop, come on, baby, higher.
Stage is yours, Nick.
Yeah, first one I'm looking at Colorado team total over 33.5. Matt mentioned that he's kind of likes the Texas Tech. I just think there's going to be points here, and I think a lot of them are going to come from Colorado. Texas Tech, the second worst pass defense in the country. This is another one where I'm like I said, Big 12 kind of shot itself in the foot last night, but this also should be a jolt of energy for Colorado, knowing now that they kind of control their own destiny in the Big 12 championship game. I trust Shador, Travis Hunter are still going to be trying to put up a lot of points and get those guys stats. So I think this team total here for Colorado over 33.5 is my way to go there. Texas, I think they absolutely steamroll Florida here. They're getting Isaiah Bond back. Florida, it's going to be some letdown. I mean, they played basically as well as they could last week against Georgia. And now DJ Lagway they're saying questionable. There's no way he plays. He's out. So now they're on a third stringer transfer from Yale against this Texas defensive line. I don't think they stand a chance. So I think Texas kind of gets it over with early here and ends up as a blowout. And then last biggest play is going to be Oregon first half. I'll play it again. They are just rolling people in the first half and then kind of taking second halves off. So if they're giving me it's 14. I know there's some 14 halves out there, so you can find a book that works. I think there's still like 2 big books out there that have it at 14. Still playable there. 14.5, not bad because I do think it's going to be ugly. Maryland traveling across the country after getting smoked by Minnesota. I think Maryland's kind of looking forward to the future. So yeah, give me Oregon first half there. So those are probably my 3 biggest plays of the weekend.
Elijah, hit us up with one more commercial, the one for Mr. Grissom.
All right, like I said
Stage
earlier,
is yours.
I sent you Ole Miss. I have changed my mind. Just take them on the money line, minus 140. Don't mess with the 2.5. That worries me. I like Vanderbilt. You can actually get a better number now, plus 4.5, plus 5.5. I still don't think that we're valuing Vanderbilt for as good as they are. I think they're legit, and the odds makers keep making them a dog in situations where if it were any other team, they'd be the favorite. I mean, this Vanderbilt team 6-3. I get South Carolina is coming off a big win, and there's not really a home field advantage in Nashville. But still, it's Diego Pavia. He's proven time and time again as a dog, this is a guy that you want to back. This line keeps going up. It opened 3.5, South Carolina. Now it is 5.5. Just don't understand it. One that I did not send you that I like, Virginia Tech. Right now, I'm not buying this Clemson team. You talked about them earlier. I just don't think they're a very sound team, and Virginia Tech got off to one of the worst starts for a promising season, but have kind of started figuring things out. Georgia money line, we talked about Vanderbilt. There's one more dog that it staring me in the face. I can't see it. Missouri, a home dog against Oklahoma. Like I said earlier, let's bet on the teams that we trust. Do you trust Oklahoma? They have been terrible this season. Welcome to the SEC.
No Brady Cook.
I don't care.
Okay.
Don't care. Plus points at home. Missouri. Bly Drinkwitz, he's got a big game. They've got to win this game. So I like Mizzou here. And then Texas Tech, you touched on it earlier. I think Colorado's been really good, but they have not ran into even a halfway decent Big 12 team. And I think this is where they could get got, just like Texas Tech got Iowa State last weekend.
Well, it's a big weekend in college football, a couple elimination games. Obviously, we will be back with both of you here at 11 o'clock Eastern on Friday. Nick, where can they find all your work?
Yeah, on X in Hathcoat 413. Best place to find me, where I do most of picks and everything. Obviously, follow us on NCAA Insiders on our website. And then we also have a free Discord that we all use where we communicate with all of our followers, fans, and where we all play our picks every single week.
Mr. Grissom.
collegefootballinsiders.com. You can find the link to the Discord up there in the top right as I put in that Virginia Tech bet. And also, I forgot Indiana. That was another one. Bet on the teams that you trust. I definitely don't trust Michigan. I think Kurt Cignetti continues to roll this offense.
Well, as the season starts to wind down in college football, we'll be talking some college hoops with you. Matt, apologies in advance. I didn't mean to awaken the beast of last week, and I felt your pain from here. Trust me. At least you got
good.
Coach Cal coming. That's all you need to know.
It threw me off. It's very erratic this morning.
Go follow Nick at Hathcoat413, and of course Matt Grissom at Grissom on X. You can catch them both on the NCAA Insiders. Gentlemen, have a great weekend. Behave. Let's cash some tickets, and we'll see you both next week.
Cheers, Jeff.
Appreciate it, Jeff.
Take care. Elijah, quick commercial break, and we're going to bring up Adam Trigger to talk some college hoops. We'll be right back.
Jared, hey, we're going to need you to tone it down with the Summer Friday thing, okay?
What are you talking about?
Well, for one, it's not summer anymore.
Oh, really?
Coconut. Also, who is this?
I'm the caddy.
Oh, he's my intern.
Sorry, intern. I'm his intern.
Yeah, he's doing a great job.
No golfing in the office, okay? Summer Fridays are over. You can keep the Hawaiian shirt, but the rest of this stuff, all right? Are you grilling?
Oh, yeah. Did you want a burger or a hot dog?
No, grilling in the office.
It's a good point. We should take this outside.
No, that don't. You put that right back down.
Yo, it's all in the hips.
Oh, dude, come on, we gotta go. Let's go.
Back to talk some college hoops on the road as we speak. The one and only Mr. Adam Trigger.
Hey, what's going on? Let me know if you can hear me okay. I'm in my office today is the Hazleton, Pennsylvania Starbucks, so hopefully my volumes are right. It's a little noisy in here, but we'll make do.
You sound great. I got the UConn sweatshirt on just for you. The season tipped off on Monday. Before we get what your thoughts are, what you've seen so far, before we start breaking down this weekend's games and the two games that you'll be at, I watched the UConn game. I wanted to see, again, it's now a plug and play. They don't rebuild, they reload. Caravan, obviously, is going to be a big focal point there. They had two transfers from St. Mary's, Michigan State, some younger players stepping in. But my question to you, Adam, is what I did see is there's a big hole to fill without King Kong Klingon there. And that was a big part of their run to the championship there. Am I correct to say that's going to be probably a bigger hole than expected to fill?
Oh, I think so. And I don't think you can really take much from, the opening night. Some of the I'll offer up a thought on just some of like what we've seen the first 4 days. Big favorites just winning and covering easily. I mean, we're 4 days into the season. It has to be hitting like well over 60%, where these like 25, 30-point favorites are not only winning and covering, but they're doing it with ease. They're covering all numbers. I did a video for Wager Talk for Duke Army, and I mentioned I did this last night when the lines opened, and I mentioned like by the time this video gets put up, that this line will be 5 points different just because it's Duke. Now, I didn't play Army today. Like, I don't know if I have the stones to play back at some of these big favorites. And I think it speaks to like maybe the divide that's starting to happen in college basketball, where like you talk about a team like UConn, all of those assistant coaches like 10 years ago, 10 years ago, would be taking like head coaching jobs elsewhere. Now they're staying to be part of this like powerhouse. And then you're seeing throughout the country, some like coaches leaving mid to small major jobs to go be an assistant at a power conference school. I think it speaks to the divide with the top teams and the bottom teams, the power conference teams to the mid majors. So in a roundabout way to answer your question, that does nothing for me in terms of evaluating UConn. I still expect them to step back from last year. And once I get an opponent to do so, I'll probably play against them.
Yeah, I think they're on deck with UNH on Saturday. He plays a handful of games just to get their feet wet, and then he plays that gauntlet. He'll play anyone. And last year they went to Kansas and they lost. That was their one loss to start the year. They play in the big tournaments. You're talking about the big name teams here. Duke is that one where I talked to a few people. I don't follow college basketball till March, but I do know one guy named Cooper Flagg. These teams are all inflated right now as well.
Yeah, well, I'll touch on the Duke Army game quick from a betting perspective, because you have seen the number just start to, Duke's going to take money no matter what. So this is what I talked about in my breakdown of that game, which you can actually go to the Wager Talk YouTube channel and find like a 9-minute breakdown of Duke Army if that's what you're into. But essentially what I said was at some point we have to start playing back at like a 5 or 6 point move, right? Like whether you follow college basketball or not, Jeff, I know you know betting and I know you know the markets. And, for example, like Duke Army, I made the opener. 28.5 is what I made the number in that game. It's already like 32, something like that. It may go off like 33. I'll just give a comparison out. Duke beat Maine on Monday night by 34 points. I think Army is a better team than Maine. Like, I have Army a few points better than Maine. Army returns Jalen Rucker. He didn't play last year, but he was one of the best players in the Patriot League 2 years ago. The reason he's back is because he found out that you can't leave Army as a senior. And I think that's the same for all service academies. Once you get to your junior year or later, I think you're committed to them for the rest of the way. So when he went to transfer last year, he wasn't able to transfer. He sat out the year. He's back this year. That's so big for a team like Army. He's going to be one of the top players, if not the best player in the Patriot League. And they've got two freshmen last year that are sophomores. One is Josh Govins. The other is Ryan Curry, that were pretty good players last year. So I don't think Maine and Army are the same thing at all. I have Army a step up. So I'm just doing some simple math here, Jeff. If Duke barely covered and beat Maine by 34, and this is going to basically steam up to that number, 33 and a half, I'm tempted to take Army plus the points, but the only thing that's keeping me off is what's sort of happened the first 4 days, where it's like you just hang any number out there and some of these favorites just find a way, right, to just get over it at the end. That being said, I wouldn't be surprised if that trend starts to change. The numbers are getting too inflated, and Army is one that I'd be willing to play back at just a little bit.
And tomorrow, of course, the big college football slate, NBA going on, NHL going on. All the sports are, NFL, of course, on Sunday. There's a huge college basketball slate, as you said. For most people, that is just going to get thrown under the rug. Mm-hmm. North Carolina at Kansas. UCLA hosting New Mexico. Arizona State travels to Santa Clara. Some of the big teams are playing there, and obviously the headliner, North Carolina, Kansas. But most people aren't even going to give a rat's what about these games.
Yeah, and you know what? That used to be how we made money, right? Like, that used to be how the sharp handicappers, college basketball handicappers, would come in November and December and just crush, because the books couldn't handle all of that college hoop volume in addition to their NFL and college football. And we could forecast things based on previous years. What's helped the books out, I think, immensely is the transfer portal and all the NIL, the portal, all the players moving around, because now it's like there's, we can be prepared as, you can be totally prepared and know all of your stuff. But in a lot of cases, we're getting the first look at these, there's very little continuity from last year to this year. And that's why, for me personally, I really, in the early going, I love focusing on leagues like the Ivy League, the Patriot League, some of these smaller leagues where there's just NIL is not a thing. players aren't transferring nearly at the rate that they are in other conferences, because you have some continuity and you can really sort of like, I feel like things play out more the way you would expect them to, as opposed to, trying to handicap Louisville, who has an entire new team that you've never seen played again.
We've started a little cold on the team totals this year. We've had some sides that have come in. Again, it's the first week. We lean on Ken Palm. We lean on some other sources here. You create your own numbers for the newbies. People just tuning in that want to get into college hoops, Adam. Any suggestions for them?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many good resources out there for college basketball. My buddies at Three Man Weave do a tremendous job. Their previews, they have every single team, 364 teams in preview form. They're super easy to read. It's a great place to start. You've also got guys like Shot Quality, Evan Maya, Ken Palm. Ken Palm's sort of the known one at this point that all make numbers. Best advice I can give is try to sort of look at what they're doing and then tweak it to your own things, right? Like maybe you add, for me, I started to add or take away a point for home court because I've been personally to so many of these home courts, or, whatever it might be, but you can kind of tweak your own numbers for that. And then the other point of advice, I'll talk about this all season, focus on a small group of teams. You don't need to handicap 364 teams. You don't even need to know about 364 teams. Pick 15, pick 20, like me, I live in Central New York, so the Patriot League is like in my backyard. It makes things so much easier than trying to attack a 300+ team league where it's just sort of like information overload.
2 games you want to talk about. One, I will be at tomorrow. I will be on the other side. BC hosting Syracuse in football. I will be there for that football game. You're taking a look at BC and VCU. You've done a lot of talks already here about this VCU team. Opened up at 9.5 with a 143. Now 10.5 with a 140.5. So a little money came in on VCU and a little money on the under, Adam.
Yeah, so I'm actually headed to this game as well. Tonight is the Veterans Classic in Annapolis, Maryland. It's a doubleheader. It'll be a Navy home game, Harvard Navy, which we'll talk about in a second. But the first game is VCU and Boston College. So the reason that's important is obviously they're playing on a neutral floor. I do expect VCU fans to travel. They're a very passionate fan base. Basketball is their sport. So this is a relatively manageable trip for them up from Richmond to Annapolis. I expect it to be all VCU fans. I don't think many Boston College fans will make this trip for a couple of reasons. One, it's a tougher trip from Boston. And 2, I don't think Boston College fans are very high on their basketball team this year. And to be honest, neither am I. Now, as far as a numbers perspective, I thought this opened where it should. That's, unfortunately, it's not a secret that Boston College is not going to be good this year. It also isn't much of a secret that VCU is going to be very good. Since we talked about that, Jeff, a few weeks ago, I think we gave VCU out to win the Atlantic 10 at 4 or 5 to 1 on this show. I believe that went off like plus 250. So took some money. And I think VCU is going to be very, very good this year. But I want to talk about Boston College first, because even if it doesn't make you money in this game, it might make you some money down the road as Boston College, maybe starts to get lined like a little bit more competitively against teams that I think are better than them. Now, again, you're not getting line value at 10 or 11 here, but Boston College lost virtually all of the talent from last year's team, specifically Quentin Post, who not only was he one of the best bigs in the ACC, I don't think it's a stretch to say he was one of the best, most impactful big men in the country. He ended up being an NBA draft pick. I think he ended up in Golden State. I don't really follow NBA, but I know I'm pretty sure he got drafted. And, you lose McLaughlin, Claude L. Harris, Jaden Zachary. Like that's a lot of talent from last year's team. But, Post is the big one. And the other problem is you didn't exactly reload. A guy that Boston College went out and got, Chad Venning, is a guy that I watched a ton at St. Bonaventure. He's big. He's big like Post was. He's 6'10", and he's a big dude. He's going to throw his weight around, and he's going to score in the paint. But what he can't do like Post is pass. I mean, Quentin Post was an elite passer. He did so much for that offense, more than just like score, rebound, be a presence in the paint. He was the best passer on that Boston College team last year. And Venning, that's just not his game, not the way it was for Post. He also doesn't play nearly as many as minutes as Post does. So staying on the floor is tough for Venning. And then you just look at what they have left, and I'll look at the game BC played on Monday night against Citadel. Venning had 15 points, and Donald Hand Jr., who's one of the returning players, had 22, but he went 11 for 11 from the foul line. And that's really where I just don't think BC, I think that's where their points are going to come from. And that's where I don't think they're going to get them against VCU, who, Ryan Odom is a great coach. He plays very good defense, specifically post defense. So Boston College is going to have to hit a lot of shots here. I don't think Hand is going to live at the free throw line like he did against a team like Citadel. And then just the appeal for VCU that we've talked about on this show, they start 5 upperclassmen. They ended up getting their best player back. Max Shugla was going to go to Villanova. He decided to stay. Zeb Jackson didn't play in the opener, but Philip Russell, who's a grad transfer from UT Arlington, scored 16 points, and he was fantastic. So I think, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a VCU blowout. I will give you an angle, though, here. It is a neutral court. It is the first game of a neutral court, 2-game doubleheader. If VCU comes out slow, and this game is close at any point, or it's close at halftime, I think VCU's second half is a great bet for a couple of reasons. One, I think they will assert their will as the game goes on and pull away. And 2, I think Venning is going to get tired playing this many minutes against a very solid defensive front court like VCU. So I don't mind a live VCU bet if they start a little slow. I'll give you some parameters. We'll call it, if you can get VCU in play at 8.5 or better, I think that's a good bet. If you can get VCU second half at a line that gives you like 9 or better for the game, I think that's a good bet. So, might have to just pass on it. If VCU comes out and is up 20 at halftime, there's probably no play. But I do think VCU ends up pulling away in this game.
The nightcap, Harvard Navy. The opening line, Harvard -1 with a 140. And now it is Navy -1.5 with a 138.5. So again, the under taking some money, and a flip from Harvard -1 to now Navy -1.5.
Yeah, that flipped pretty quickly on the open. And with these extra board games, so these for the extra board, I'll never give them out overnight. It's not fair to the I have a lot of people that follow my plays at Wager Talk, so they're very hard to get down on. I almost always wait until the morning to bet an extra board game. So I did take the Navy money line here. I laid -125. This is a 4% client play for me at Wager Talk. This is a game I am betting. And part of the reason I like Navy, I like Navy here for a couple of reasons. First, I'll talk about Harvard. Harvard wasn't really supposed to have a good team last year. They didn't have a great team. They didn't make that 4-team Ivy League playoff, but they were better than expected due to freshman Malik Mack, who was just awesome. He ended up being one of the better players in the Ivy, just a supreme talent there as a freshman, blossomed right away. And of course, this happens. He transferred to Georgetown, parlayed that great freshman year into a transfer to Georgetown. So you lose Malik Mack. The other thing, the other guy you lose is Justice Agjabar, was Harvard's best defender. So 2 really key pieces of that team last year. And, so when I look at this Harvard roster, I say, okay, they're down their best scorer and they don't return a double-digit score. They're down their best paint defender, and I don't think they really replace him. So I'm going to look for spots to play against this team. Now, the reason I didn't play against Harvard on opening night was because I'm not very high on Marist this year, even though everyone seems to be high on Marist in the MAC. And so even though Harvard comes out and just wipes the floor with Marist, blows him out, wins by 13, I think Marist is far worse than where they're rated, where the metrics have them, where they're rated in MAC previews and stuff like that. So I instantly said, okay, we may get the chance to go against Harvard on Friday, get the good number. And I did think we got the good number because I make this more like Navy -2.5. The reason I like Navy so much, Jeff, all upperclassmen, everyone's back. They return as many minutes as anyone in the country this year. Part of the benefit in this Patriot League of being a little bit young is the next year you're old, right? The next year everyone comes back. And that's the case with this Navy team. I think only 2 guys graduated. I believe their only 2 freshmen are walk-ons. They're way down the line and down the bench. And almost every key minute returns from last season. Austin Begnini is one of the best players in the Patriot League. He had 23 points on Monday night against St. Joe's. I'm kicking myself in hindsight for not taking Navy plus 16 on Monday against St. Joe's. But it really has nothing to do with Navy. I just kind of like that St. Joe's team. And I was so impressed with how Navy played in that game. They had a halftime lead. It was tied with 10 minutes to go. And that's a very, very good St. Joe's team that I think is probably the main threat in the A-10 to VCU this year. So came away very impressed with Navy. Again, this is the Veterans Classic tonight in Annapolis, Maryland. So you're going to get probably your best home crowd that Navy's going to get in the non-conference, right? Like they typically don't, they're not going to fill the house for basketball and non-conference play. They almost will never do it in Patriot League play unless they're playing Army. But you're going to have the benefit of going second here tonight after VCU and Boston College. I'd imagine some fans are going to hang around for that. And then you're going to have, all your Navy fans there. So I expect a better home crowd than typical for Navy. So I'll bump them up at least a point there for home court advantage. But really it comes down to just thinking Navy's a superior team. Ed DeChellis is a great coach. They have veterans. And this is the one thing I've talked about, looking the rare spot where you've got some serious continuity. Navy was outstanding toward the end of last year. They really started to mold toward the end of last year. On Monday night, I think we saw that continue. I expect it to continue here. Jeff, if you remember a couple of weeks ago, we talked about a Patriot League future. I gave Navy out, I think, at like plus 850 to have a chance to win the Patriot League. I'm very high on the midshipmen, and I think they beat Harvard tonight.
Roller's been going the whole time, Adam. Everyone knows on X to find you at Adam Trigger WT. But again, you do so much more of your work on Wager Talk as well. We always end the segment here. Tell everyone where they can find your work.
Yeah, so we actually just put up a special package back up today. It gets you every single college basketball play I make from now through the NCAA tournament final. So it's the whole season. Great special that Wager Talk put up. But if you're looking for the free stuff, I have plenty of that too. Just gave you one of my client plays tonight, Navy Moneyline. I'm always posting on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. My handle's the same on all 3, at Adam Trigger WT. And also, if you ever have a college basketball related question on a bet you want to make, just hit me with a DM. I try to answer all of them. If I have an opinion, I'll let you know. I'm here to help. I just want to try to cash as many tickets as possible. I love this sport. And if you're out at a game, come say hi. Like I try to go to as many as I can during the season. So I'll see you guys around.
Enjoy the doubleheader. Go midshipmen. I'll be looking to follow you, obviously, tonight on your timeline to get some great pictures and excitement at the games. Great to catch up with you today, and we'll catch up with you on next Friday. We'll kind of curious to see if you'll be remote or back home. How's that sound?
I'll be back home next Friday because I'm going to go to Siena U Albany on Saturday night. The Albany Cup. That's a big deal for me. I went to Siena, so got to be in the building for that one.
Safe travels, Adam. Take care and best of luck.
Take care, Jeff.
Elijah, one last commercial break and we'll wrap it up. ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app. So much information here on Fridays. I have my KenPom sheet up right now. Both those games that Adam will be live on CBS. And currently, it's a numbers game. When do you buy? Do you watch the market? Do you go in game, as he was talking about VCU? Ken Palm's got VCU 77-69, and I think the opening number, as I stated, was 9.5. It is now up to 10.5. So again, you're not getting the good number there. And then on CBS, the nightcap, as he was talking about Navy. Where's my eyes? Come on, eyes. Ken Palm has Harvard 71-70. Now, as I stated, Harvard was -1 on the opening line. Now Navy is -1.5. So the pre-flop, Ken Palm has it 71-70. Now the adjusted number, or where the public has decided to jump in, Navy -1.5 there. So we'll be talking with Adam all season long at 11:30, whether it's back home at his studio or live remote as he is today, getting ready for 2 games there. And of course, the NCAA insiders, Matt Grissom, Nick, and Quentin Mills will be here for the rest of the college football season, and they'll be talking college basketball as well. And then, of course, we're going to get you ready for some college baseball. Myself and Riley, we was scheduled to be on at around 5 o'clock for the closing bell. Riley texted me amidst the show here, said we're going to probably do it earlier, so keep an eye on that. I'll post the exact time for the closing bell. Shout out to Amber Holly, as always. Go Bucks, go Big Ten. Mr. Russell Saylor, the best. Always appreciate your trust and support here. And the man behind the glass, Mr. Elijah Cox. The weekend is here, people. Enjoy yourselves. It's noon. Go grab some lunch, and we will see you soon.